call the meeting of February 10th to order. Secretary, please record the roll of board members present and absent, of course. And the minutes of December 9th are in your packet. Are there any corrections or additions? If not, is there a motion to approve?
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that we approve the minutes of December 9th.
Motion by Pat, is there a second?
And I would second.
Second by Sean, thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried without dissent. Regular meeting of our meeting today. Number 1 on our list, to consider a variance request to exceed the maximum allowed detached accessory structure by an additional 710 square feet. Who is here to speak for that? You want to go up to the podium and give us your name and all the particulars?
Yeah, my name's Don Emo. Live on the 829 3rd Street East. And the building I want to add on to has been there since '95 and kind of outgrew it. And I restore my own trucks and stuff like that. And I need more room I bought a boat and I'd like just that spot to put my boat in. Because I used to store stuff at the farm, but my dad's deceased now and we're getting rid of the farm, so I just had no place to put it. And just need a little more room is all.
Yeah, I believe you did have that in your request, but how large is that lot?
It's, what is it, 410 feet long by 140 wide, 145 wide.
So it's well over an acre.
It's over an acre, yes.
Yeah, and I have like 50 trees, so,
I didn't think
yeah.
How many buildings do you have on there?
Well, there's the house and, used to be apartment of the 2 garages there, and there's a little shed behind the house, and I got a little detached garage for all the garden stuff. Then that big building, which is 36 by 60, which I want to add on to.
And the addition goes on that large one on the back side?
On the north side, yes.
Questions for Don? Board members?
Are there going to be any of these sheds removed when you put the new additions in?
No.
No, okay.
It'd be better just to have one big storage on the back of that building. Get rid of
And
those little ones.
there's still like 55 feet to the property line yet to the north, so there's still access to get around.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
the sheds that he's talking about, they're actually pretty good size. In 2010, he came in front of the board and was granted a variance for that structure. With reviewing those notes, I noticed that the shed right behind the house, which is 14 by 20,
Yeah.
26, so it's a pretty
Good size.
good size. That was not calculated, so I actually added that to the square footage to clean up our records.
Okay.
And that shed was actually there when I bought the house many years ago.
Other questions?
So under this request, on this one sheet, it shows an 18 by 26 shed to be built as well, plus the addition onto the 36 by 60 shop.
Actually, we have an existing shed behind the house that was not on our assessor's page either. So I'm trying to,
So it's not going to be built, it's already there?
it's already there, yes.
Okay, just on here it says to be.
And when Mr. Omer bought this, he said that was already there.
You're just adding that to clean up the square footage.
Correct.
Okay. Other questions? Anyone here to speak for or against Don's building?
Mr. Chair, I did receive 3 phone calls, 2 for and 1 against. The one against stated that they would actually bring a statement into City Hall, but to date, I have not received that. There wasn't any real reasoning for the non-approval, but the other 2 neighbors that did approve said that they don't have an issue with the way his lot looks. It's a large lot, he keeps it well kept, and they stated that he's a good neighbor.
Anything else? Anything else, Don?
No?
All right, if there's nothing else, is there a motion to deny his request or approve it?
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
as with these, if the board chooses to approve this variance, we have had one in the past, which I'd like the verbiage that if this is approved today, this will be the last variance request, an accessory structure permitted or unpermitted on the property.
Okay. Is there a comment on that?
I guess the only other thing I got is there's a basement apartment or basement house that's beside me that we've been taking care of ever since we've been there, just so that people didn't have to do it, and it might be for sale sometime, and if that's the case, if I tear down that house, will I be able to build on that lot then, since it ain't part of this lot,
Well,
if I add it to?
Well, if you tear down the house and you don't build another primary structure, I would, actually, that would help your variance for today. You'd actually get closer to the square footage for accessory structure. I would probably stay with that. I wouldn't ask for an additional structure. You have a lot of square footage of structures on the property. If you were to remove some, I guess that would be up to the board. To consolidate, make a larger one, may be a possibility. At this time, without that happening, I would say that I'd be against that, adding more accessory structures.
Any other comments, questions? If not, is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that we approve the variance finding that the requirements of section 39.2011C have been met, and that this be the final motion or acceptance of additional buildings put on this property.
Is there any question on the motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Trevor. Further discussion? Any further discussion? If not, Pat,
Yes. Aye.
Trevor,
Aye.
Sean,
Aye.
and I'll vote aye. Looks good down there, Don.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Work with Leonard.
Okay.
Thanks for coming. Item 2, consider a variance request to reduce the minimum R1 zone lot size of 7,500 square feet to 7,380 square feet. And this is in Spring Creek subdivision. Who's here to speak on that? Anyone?
I anticipated engineer.
This is a city.
It is a city request. I anticipated Mr. Kubas being here, but he is not. This is, it is a city project, and the owners of the property unfortunately are deceased, so we're working with their representative right now actually to get this signed. It is reducing the square footage of the lot by 120 square feet. So the city is doing this so that this lot stays buildable. if there's future development on the property.
Do you know where the water's coming from?
I do not.
I think it's coming, I've been involved in the Camp on the Heart issue, pretty much the same thing. And it's coming from the, at least it was 2 years ago when we talked about this. It's coming down on State Avenue, and I'm assuming it's crossing under the bridge or under the water, and then continuing up along State Avenue is what it was back then. But that's been 2 years ago since I was involved with that.
Any other questions? Anyone to speak for or against it? No?
You don't know why it couldn't just be an easement instead of purchasing the land, or
No,
it won't fit within the sewer easement that's already there? They couldn't make the water sewer?
I'm sorry.
That's what I figured, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, even if the city buys this, nothing else is going there, so it's shrinking the lot, but it's not really making it less land in the area. It's no different than an easement being there. It's not like
Correct.
someone else is buying it to build a house or something, right?
Correct.
It is an easement, right?
Well,
Or-
the city is actually
Purchasing.
Purchasing it.
it's like-
Okay. Will that mean that it's fenced off from the rest of the lot?
No, it's actually, they'll just change the property line. Move
Okay.
the property
Oh,
line.
okay. And then
So if they fence it, they would fence it off. The city's not planning to fence
Correct.
that probably,
That-
but
Not that I'm aware of.
you have enough information to make a decision? Board members?
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that we approve this variance, finding that the requirements of section 3912, 011C have been met for this variance.
Motion by Pat,
I'll second.
second by Sean. Any further discussion? No? Pat?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Trevor?
Aye.
And I'll vote aye. Change that lot size that much. Okay. Anything else, other business?
One question I have for the board, I'd ask that you do some research as far as like the variance that was approved this morning. In our ordinance, we have the first acre is 1,200 square feet. Every additional half acre, you get an additional 250 square feet. If there's a formula that you would like to see based on, we talked about this before, and every one of these situations is unique. They truly are. And if you look at the property that you approved this morning, it is up against a drainage ditch right to the west of there. So I believe the approval this morning does work for this property. It may not work for another property, but just if there's something that you think of that we could look at as far as incorporating into the code to keep people from having to come to the board, I'm open to suggestions. Back when, in 2010, we have switched since I started with the city. I think when I started, you could actually have 2,400 square foot of accessory structure, but you had to subtract your primary attached garage from that, and then you could actually make up the difference. But that was just a different way of doing it. So
There's nothing in the code that talks about numbers of structures, though, is there? It's just
yes,
this-
actually, it
is
says
there?
3. Yes, 3 detached.
So under this scenario today, he has an apartment
It's actually
and a house? Is that?
actually they're one building. They're connected.
The apartment is built on top of the garage,
Then the
right?
garage,
Yeah.
right?
And he calls it apartment, and again, how these things happen is somebody takes a house that has some extra space, and all of a sudden it's converted to an apartment. Doesn't mean it necessarily follows or meets our code, but it has evolved over time. When that happened, whether a permit was generated, whether it meets code. I mean, those are the things that we have to look at in the future here to make sure these buildings are safe.
I know we've talked about this a number of times throughout the years, and it just seems like every one of the situations is so different and so unique that we've never come up with a real answer or solving the problem.
And maybe what we're doing is the solution, but I just, it's time again to look at it possibly, to see if there is another way.
Okay?
Well, the challenge I see with like this one today, for example, it's a large lot. He adds on to a big structure. Pretty soon you've got a business in a residential area or something like that. And how do you stay on top? Now, obviously his is personal use, but if you were to sell it with an apartment, then pretty soon it could turn into something you don't want in the middle of town.
Correct.
Right. Okay. Any other comments? Questions? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Trevor, second by Pat. We are adjourned. Thank you.